Hey everyone! 9 years of van life we've done, and during that time we've found out 5 brutal no-nonsense truths. In today's video we're going to tell you what they are. So, brutal truth number 1. Not everyone that's into van life has the same mentality as you. What do I mean by that? Not everyone is your friend when it comes to van life. Now, when it comes to van life, there's a lot of things that people share in common, the love of travel, the love of the outdoors and things. But not all van lifers share the same passion of certain things, leave no trace and things. Some people that do go on campervan trips and motorhome trips, they just have no consideration for others whatsoever. A quick example of this for us is we was well camping once in the Isle of Skye, and we was parked where 2 vans could park up, and basically a motorhome came and tried parking right next to us, and when they was trying to squeeze next to us, it wasn't a parking space, they couldn't fit, so they got out and they decided to move some stones that was blocking access to parking and things, and they were lifting the stones up, and they was parked really close to us, and I had to get out and say, look, very politely I basically said to them, what are you doing, what are you playing at and things. The attitude was terrible, but at the end of the day, like I said, not everybody when it comes to van life is your friend. Brutal truth number 2. Now, there is a saying, Instagram versus reality. Now, if you don't know, I'm going to tell you, and like I said, this is a brutal truth, I'm saying it as it is. A lot of social media creators out there, they fake a lot of things. And why do they fake things? For views. They fake things for views. So there's a saying Instagram versus reality. Now, a lot of times, you can be parked up and you can have an amazing view and you put all these pictures on social media and everything. But if you was to turn the camera around, you'd be next to a main road, there'd be really busy, there'd be cars parked up and everything. And a lot of people do edit the pictures and things, to get the shots and stuff. Same with videos and things, a lot of social media creators, they fake a lot of videos just to show the good side of everything. What I'm saying is, if you're going to go on a campervan trip, don't rely on the social media content that you see. Now, you could turn around and say, but you're a social media creator, how do we know that you don't do that? We don't do that, but at the end of the day, some people do. So what I'm saying is, do your own research, because we've found that we've been to places before and we've thought, wait a minute, from what I've seen online and things, this actually isn't like this. So don't believe everything that you see, and be certain to do your own research before you do go and embark on your own campervan adventure. Brutal truth number 3, and I call this one Vanlife Economy. Now, we do know that every year things go up. We've been doing van life for 9 years now, and from obviously when we started to now, so many things have gone up. Obviously fuel's gone up, there's nothing we can do about that. Campsites have gone up, materials have gone up, costs for actually getting your campervan converted and things gone up. But the brutal truth is, some of these things that have gone up have gone up, in our opinion, too much. And a lot of certain we're going to use campsites as an example. They're kind of trying to have you over a little bit, because some campsites now, what they're actually doing is, when you go to the campsite, because of fuel prices gas and electric and things, a lot of campsites now, what they'll do is, with the electricity, you'll get a separate bill for the electricity that you use when you're at the campsite. Now, this is understandable that some businesses have to do things like this, but what we found is, because again, in our 9 years of experience, we found that some of these campsites that we go and stay at, the prices that they're charging for things, for the extras, because now electricity is classed as an extra, the prices that they're charging, yeah, they're kind of trying to have you over a little. When you're going to go to campsites and things like that, again, you need to do your research, because again, prices have gone up massively. One thing that I will say, again, in our experience is, for every campsite that charges so much money for these so-called extras, do a little bit of research, because the campsite that's just around the corner, they don't charge anything for these extras. Another thing that's gone up massively, and again, understandable, these are businesses that have got businesses to run, if you like. Campervan conversion costs. Now, from when we first started our van life journey, because we did get a conversion company to do some of the things for us, and we did some things ourselves, but over the years, the prices have gradually got more and more for getting a campervan converted. The prices for campervan conversions now are huge. They're huge. So you need to, again, do your research. Sometimes, we have said in the past that, it's better to get a campervan and convert it yourself, because that's what we've done with the campervan that we've got now. But now, there could be deals out there that actually getting a campervan that's already converted, that might be the way to go. So again, do your research, look at everything, price up getting one done yourself, and get one obviously that's already converted. Compare the prices, because things have changed with obviously the economy. So One other thing that's worth mentioning when it comes to the economy is also in Europe, with the economy, we've noticed a massive, over the last couple of years, rise in like prices and things like, you know, going on the Eurotunnel, toll roads especially. Just in the space of like a couple of years, the rises in the cost of going on toll roads is massive. There is a lot more that's changed with the economy, and if you guys have got any sort of experience of like things that you've noticed, put it in the comments. Brutal truth number 4. Wild camping. Such a controversial subject when it comes to van life. It really is. Now, wild camping, we all imagine when you've got your camper van, you know, and you're sort of like out on the open road, you know, and you're going experiencing all these amazing places, whether you're in the UK, you're in Europe or anywhere else in the world. When it comes to wild camping, one thing that we've noticed over the 9 years is year by year it's getting more and more difficult to actually wild camp. Now what I mean by wild camping is it's parking somewhere that's not in a campsite, and you know, as long as you're obeying the law, you can sort of like stay, you know, in some designated places where, you know, you've either got permission from the landowner or, like I said, it's a designated area that you can stay in. Like I said, over the years it's became more and more difficult. There's a lot of places that we used to stay like all the time that now when you get there, like they'll have a gate there, and like, you know, they'll close the gate after 6 o'clock and you can't get out over, you know, like until like the morning after, so you can't stay overnight. There's some areas now that, you know, like car parks and things that used to be free to stay there overnight, that, you know, they now charge to do that, which is fine because, you know, paying to stay overnight is fine. But there's some areas now that they just put signs up that just says no overnight vehicles like allowed, and then they say no overnight vehicles, but then they put a picture of a motorhome or a camper van, so we know who that's targeted at. Now it is understandable why some of these, like, you know, if it's, for example, if it's like a council run sort of like system, you know, that are like not allowing these overnight stays and things, and they're trying to basically say that it's not allowed because some people, like I said before, some people, they do leave like traces, if you like, that, you know, they've been there leaving rubbish behind and things, you know, we all know that like some people do that, but it's not always camper vans and motorhomes. But a lot of people sort of like on the outside, they kind of like look inwards and go, oh yeah, it's the camper vans, it's the motorhomes and things. That's not always the case. I'm not saying that it's not like some people that do that, because some people do. But like I said, wild camping, it is getting more and more difficult to do. And like I said, over the 9 years, that's something that we have noticed. And it's a shame really, because, you know, there is some beautiful areas, you know, that you can sort of like go and visit and you can stay in and things, you know, and being able to camp there. But for whatever reasons, you know, and you can make your own mind up what all these different reasons are, but for whatever reasons they are, that is getting more and more difficult. So, you know, if you're thinking about getting like into van life and things, you know, you do need to be aware that, you know, wild camping, it is getting more and more difficult for everyone. So here we go, brutal truth number 5. Van life sometimes can be very stressful. I will talk about a little bit about some of the stressful things that we found like over our 9 years of van life. The main one is not really knowing where you're going, not knowing what your destination is, like a rough idea, and just like, you know, sometimes like going with the flow. Now we have done videos in the past where we've gone with the flow. For example, a couple of years ago we went to Europe, and we got to Europe and we didn't have any plans or anything. And that actually turned out to be quite stressful because we couldn't find any park ups that we could stay at, like, you know, for that one night that when we arrived. That was very stressful actually. We ended up parking in a motorway air in France. But there's also the part that, like, you know, sometimes, like, you know, you can book in advance of things, and then, like, you know, you can get to a campsite or something. You get to the campsite and your pitch is awful, the campsite's awful, it's noisy, it's busy, and, you know, and it's all the things that you don't want a campsite to be. So, you know, that can be quite stressful. If you're happy enough, you know, to rely on for a couple of days, you know, like baby wipes, and like, and the good thing is now you can actually get actual like cleaning towels, if you like. There's like a big cloth, you know, that you can give yourself like a wipe all over and everything. It's like a bath and
a shower in a bag.
Brooke is sat behind me, she's sunbathing. What's it called? A shower in a bag?
A shower in a wipe.
A shower wipe. Another thing that can be quite stressful, again, it's happened to us. If you're off the beaten track, you know, and you're going sort of exploring and things, and then you go down a path or something and you realise that you can't get any further, or you need to turn round. If you're in a camper van or you're in a motorhome, that can be quite stressful. So again, sort of like, you know, do a bit of research.
Turn turns into 100-point
That's
turn.
when, yeah. Are you one of those people that, you know, if the weather isn't so great that it really bothers you? Because if you're in a camper van and the weather isn't great, you know, you and your partner or your friends and things, you know, if you're going to be stuck in the camper van, sort of like stuck together and things, is that going to be stressful for you? Me and Brooke, when we travel, we have our own routines and things, you know, and we have our own space, you know, in the van and things, you know, so, you know, for us it kind of like works out, but it did take quite a bit to sort of like get used to that, so. What was that? But there we go. Some of the things that we've mentioned in this video, you know, to some people they might be big deals, you know, to some people it might be nothing. For me and Brooke, like these like issues, you know, they don't bother us because, you know, we've got the experience of like, you know, doing these things and that, and we still continue to enjoy van life. But like I said, if anything in this video that we spoke about, you know, if you think that it would bother you, then, you know, maybe for you need to think, is van life going to be for you before you actually get out there and do it? So is there any brutal truths for you that you found in your experience of van life that, you know, might help others out and something that we've not thought about? So put it in the comments and let us know. You know what, guys, straight to the point, no messing about. Thanks for watching. Till the next one, bye for now.